Greetings, banners and binnies in the diaspora. I'm Uncle Pablo, host of Pablo's Creely's Karna, also known as the Karna. And today, I have the pleasure of interviewing Guyanese poet, entrepreneur, blogger, and author of Cries of the Redemption, the Abeng, and My Conscious Pen, brother Kaya OMODELE. My brother.
Greetings.
Welcome to the Karna. What's going on?
It's my pleasure, man.
Yeah, man. So let me kick things off with the big money question. Who is Kaya OMODELE?
Well, I'm just a simple man. I was born in Georgetown Public, 1970. My mom comes from a family of writers and political activists. My father was an interesting person, you know what I mean? But he was in the GDF back in them days. And if you remember, back in them days, a lot of political things going on.
Gotcha, guys. Sir, say no more, say no more. So there's something that struck me with your title, and I've looked at a lot of your blogs and so on as prep for the show, and I see the word Abeng recurring. So help the fans of the Karna understand what's the significance of this word to your brand as a writer and as an entrepreneur.
Well, the Abeng, for those who don't know, the Abeng is a instrument. It's an animal horn. So it could be like a cow horn, or it could be a shell.
Right.
But it's something that the slaves used to use, you know, to communicate with each other. Well, they use it as a musical instrument, but they also use it to communicate with each other.
Right.
It's a thing that in Jamaica, they used it to announce rebellion. So they would beat the drums when they get ready to rebel, but they also used to sound what they call sounding their Abeng.
Yes.
So it was really like telling people, well, it's time to rise up now. It's time to
absolutely
take up your cutlass and your hoe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It became a symbol of resistance and rebellion.
Okay.
Decide? So I chose that name for that purpose, as a symbol of freedom. So a lot of the things that I write about on the blog come from that perspective.
You mentioned the blog, so give the fans the blog, the domain there, so they can follow you on the blog as well.
Well, you can follow me on the blog at theconsciouspen.com.
Theconsciouspen.com. So thank you for that, my brother. Now, as you intimated earlier, you come from a family of activists and thespians.
Right.
So describe your Guyanese roots and the key influencers on your consciousness as a poet and a writer.
Some of the people that influenced me as a writer, period, are like Cicely Rodway, Yan Carew. And I grew up hearing about Wilson Harris. Really, I didn't really know much about Wilson Harris, but I grew up in a home where my mother had a lot of books, you see?
Yes.
But even as a young age, before I even went to high school, I was reading, like, she had all these books, Blood in My Eye by George Jackson, which is a very revolutionary book. Black August, which, you know, it was some things that was going on here in California and America. So she had those books. She had, of course, books by Walter Rodney. Of course, she had books. She was a wide-read person.
She was well-read, yeah.
My mother was a physical therapist, but she was one of these. You ever see a picture like Angela Davis and Asaka Shakur? She was this red woman with this big bush.
Yeah. My mom was
red woman
like
with a big bush. So
yeah, my mom was like that as well in terms of her appearance. So she had that big fro, and she would have me. My job was to get the newspaper and to make sure the fro is level on both sides.
Yeah.
She'd be like, come. Yeah, she'd come with the magazine and you know,
you had the same job.
Yeah. Now describe life as a youngster growing up.
I was born in Georgetown.
Right.
I came to America at about 4 or 5.
Okay.
Because my mother was in school at Howard University at the time.
Oh, nice. So, the Mecca. Nice.
The Mecca.
Yeah, my uncle was there too. Is that where they met? My uncle, Uncle Sam.
No, they met before, because your Uncle Sam was my Uncle Brian, one of their friends. So my mother inherited him as a friend from her big brother. Right?
Nice,
so
nice.
Uncle Sam was like my mother's friend, but big friend.
Big friend, I got you. Yeah. He's a little older, yeah. So shout out to Uncle Sam. And is that Brian? Uncle Brian.
Uncle Brian Rodney, yeah. You know, he was like a Renaissance man.
Yeah, man.
Because he could paint, he could write.
Yeah.
He used to make these batik dresses and sell them, and
nice,
you know what I mean, these African type dresses.
So this entrepreneurship is in your blood, man.
Yeah, man.
Like these folks that were doing it. Nice. Yeah, I can relate to that because my uncle was definitely a mentor and a source of inspiration, because to have an uncle who had traveled, who was at Howard University, he went to Berkeley as well, an Ivy League school. So I was very proud of him. And that kind of put me on that track as well, you know?
Right.
So yeah, so shout out to Uncle Brian and Uncle Sam. Yeah.
When I came to America at 5, I left when I was like almost 7 and came back to Guyana. But when we came back, I didn't come back to Georgetown. I came back we went to Linden because my mother had to work at the backside.
Because how long were you there in Linden?
For about 4 years, till I passed common entrance and then had to come to town to go to school.
Gotcha. Okay. So you see, you do have some groundings there as far, because I was thinking that since you left at 4, you would probably
no. I left at 4
and came
back at 7. Yeah. But even when I was like 4 or 5, I left. Closer to 5. Because I still have memories in quarantine where my grandparents live. Because my family really is from NA. You know? I was like the first person. That was the only thing my family is Georgetowners. You understand?
So you're countryman.
Country people, you understand? I'm the first person born in town. Yeah.
That's why we connect, because as an original Burbician, you know, when I met you for the first time, I realized that there was some consciousness there. So yeah, man. So we share a lot of similarities in terms of our roots and our influences. You mentioned the name Walter Rodney, right? And I'm sure like he does on me and a lot of Guyanese and Caribbean people, what do the names, not only Walter Rodney, but also Marcus Garvey mean to you?
Well, you know, Garvey for me, you know, because my spirituality is really like rooted in Rastafari.
Yes.
I don't consider myself Rastafari in liberty as it is right now.
Right.
Because, you know, I don't have my locks anymore and these kinds of things, but in principle, I still uphold Rastafari principles. So as that being a groundation for me, Marcus Garvey is the prophet in Rastafari. Yes, right? He's what we call the prophet.
Yes.
And so the things that he was doing, we talking about a man that was born in 1887. Right? So the movements that he was making, both in Jamaica, then in America especially.
Right.
You're talking about in 19, you're talking about 100 years ago. The things that he was doing are things that we should, that we're trying to still do now. He gave us a base of, you know, how to deal with each other.
Yeah.
You know, one thing about Garvey is that he tried to bring people, Black people all over the world together.
Right.
Saying that, you know, from an economic standpoint, from a socio-economic standpoint, right? And, you know, some of the principles that he had that I really try to emulate day to day is in supporting Black businesses and these kinds of things. Because, you know, Garvey was the first business that you could buy shares. The first Black business you could buy shares in. Right? So Black people were buying shares in a Black company, and that was revolutionary for
back in that time. For sure. That you source a lot of the material and products for your brand from Africa. So talk about that. Help us understand the process.
Well, the Ben clothing line that I have, the Ben collection, something that I started based on, you know, that principle that Garvey had.
Yes.
And it's Ujamaa in Swahili, which is cooperative economics.
Yes.
So what I was trying to do is instead of giving a t-shirt company, here my money, I'm printing t-shirts here to sell, that I would buy and produce clothing in places where my dollar would make a difference. My dollar in being a manufacturer and wholesaler would make a difference. So I found Bernadette Dalle in Nigeria. And it was a leap of faith because, you know, we all have these stigmas about sending our money to people we don't know.
Right.
So we screen, you know, we screen each other, she and I, for 2-3 months where we spoke. And, you know, nowadays we could WhatsApp and she's showing me her neighborhood and where she would be sewing and these kinds of things. And I did vice versa. So we developed a relationship.
Okay. Yep.
And then
so where is she located?
She's located in Lagos.
In Lagos, Nigeria. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes. And I'm looking to do these things with people in everywhere, in Guyana, anywhere. Right. It don't matter to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. It's just that person was the first of hopefully many. Right. So we developed a small factory there. So she has a couple of workers that she employs. She's a seamstress.
Okay.
And a designer.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. She does the embroidery and thing too, right? She
does the embroidery. What she does now, she delegates. She's a young lady too. I think she might be like 29 now. On WhatsApp, she shows me, you know, what I'm choosing. Yes. And I'll choose it. And then what I do, because it's custom made, right? We have to take measurements. So I get my clients to measure themselves, or I measure them if they're in Atlanta or wherever I'm at the time. And then I send the measurements to her. And I let them choose their cloth too, because she'll take pictures of what we can get right now. Nice. Then I show them. So it's very interactive. And they're excited about it because they're building things how they want it also. The clients I'm talking
absolutely. So as far as so I'm assuming that you have a catalog that you can show a prospective client, or how does that work? How does that process work?
I did have a catalog of and it was online.
Yes.
Now what has happened is because of COVID, we took a back seat for like, you know. So now I'm just starting to really
like most of us,
again.
right?
I'm trying to bring Black people all over the world, from all over the world together.
Right.
And it's easy for us to say, well, I'm a GT F Trini, or I'm a Trini, me like them Yardi, or I'm a Yardi, me like them Yankees. But as a Garveyite, I can't see things that way. I've never, my mother never taught me to see things that way.
Right.
You see? And my mother always taught me that Black people came on ships and you know, were delivered to different parts of the world.
Right.
There's the same Black people coming from the same place. By her teaching me that, right, Garveyism makes sense.
Yes.
Pan-Africanism makes sense.
Absolutely.
So now, that's what stands behind my brand. Like if we look at, say, Jewish people.
Yes.
Jewish people don't agree. There are plenty of division amongst Jews. So the divisions that we have, the tribalism that we have as people of African descent, you know, other people have it too. But that doesn't stop them from coming together for business. That doesn't stop them from coming together for different things. I don't want to focus on the challenges, because we understand the challenges. But let's focus on the solutions. The solution is for me to come on the Karna, right, and give and tell about myself, my story, and to invite you to come on my platform, so that I can, so that you can introduce me to more people, and I can introduce to more people. That's the solution. Those are small solutions. Small solutions is, instead of buying Versace, which Versace is a nice brand.
Yes.
Okay, but I will buy Pablo brand.
There you go.
You understand?
Or the Abeng.
Or the Abeng. You see?
Yes.
Those are the solutions. So we could concentrate on the solutions. For instance, one thing that I can do is I can hire writers. Right now, I have a writer. There's a situation going on in Jamaica right now with the Maroons. Right. So I've hired a writer. I've employed a writer to write about what's going on with them, with the Maroons, for that band.
Nice.
Right? So those are the small things that we can do to really, like, you know, affect change the way we want to see it.
Right. So model the solution in your sphere of influence. So whatever it is you're doing should reflect what you're talking about on a larger scale.
Right.
Now, as Guyanese, we love to debate, right? As you can see, Facebook is filled with a lot of armchair politicians and lawyers,
Yeah,
just, I mean, I used to be one of them, but I've since learned that what am I accomplishing by just displaying my command of the English language, right? Because nothing gets done in the end, right? So I realized that, as you have as well, based on your answer, that it's about doing. Let's talk about your writing, right? Like what does poetry and writing in general mean to you?
Well, poetry is something I did in school.
Okay.
When I was in school in Linden, right?
Right. Which school?
Watuka Day.
Watuka. Shout out to Watuka. Yes, yes.
Watuka Day. Yeah, man, one of the best schools in Guyana.
Yes. Yeah. I've heard of Watuka. Yeah, I got a lot of friends in Linden. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And I learned to write there. And I like poetry, and I like to write from then. So from I was about 8, I was writing poetry. I didn't really have a lot of passion in poetry. What I did have a lot of passion in was writing reggae songs. So I used to, because I come from a time when dancehall started.
Yes.
The only thing we used to call it rubber dub. We used to call it dub.
Name some of the artists back then that were popular.
Oh man.
Let's start.
Everybody know Yellow Man. You had
Yellow Man.
And then you had a man named Dillinger.
Yes.
And then you had, later on in the 80s, you had like General Trees, I Am Great, Lord, I Have Faith.
Yeah. Lieutenant Stitchy, that was my man.
That was later on.
Later, okay.
Yeah. But the early 80s
where your size?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's I used to write. That's my introduction to actually writing any form of poetry. Trying to write and DJ songs.
Yeah. I always like to shout out our teachers in Guyana. So give a shout out to someone in your school at Watuka.
Oh man.
Yeah, who had
Norma Howard, Auntie Norma.
Auntie Norma.
So I used to get in trouble in school and then go home and get licks again.
I hear
because Auntie Norma was one good friend, but she was also my teacher.
Yeah, man. Nice. So Auntie Norma, so is Auntie Norma still with us?
Yes, she is. Yes, she's still in Linden. Yeah.
So a big shout out to Auntie Norma, doing some big things there to educate our young people. Is she still working?
No, she ain't teaching no more.
Okay. All right.
Some of her students are now teaching.
Yeah, my cousin was the first mayor of Linden. Now is the book Prize of Redemption your first book? Let's talk about your book. Okay, yes. Talk about your inspiration and the process of getting this book from your head into print.
Well, actually, the book was written over a period of, it was put together over some of my writings over a period of maybe 15 years.
Okay.
So it wasn't a book that I just wrote in a year or in 3 months.
Yeah.
There were stories that I wrote for different times, different things that I was going through at the time. Like a lot of the book was written when I was incarcerated.
Right.
So and then some of it was published on my blog, and I just took it off my blog and redid it.
Gotcha.
Put it into the book.
Go ahead.
Came from the fact that I was incarcerated.
Right.
Missing people, missing my old lady.
Yes.
You know, and missing freedom. Because a lot of us, we don't understand how precious freedom really is until it's not there.
It's not.
Like some of the poetry that I wrote was making a parallel between slavery and prison.
Right. How has your incarceration helped you to become a teacher and a mentor for those type of kids who may be presented, and they are. There's always something out there. There's somebody out there with the fancy cars and the lifestyle, and the young kid is like, man, I can do that. I can take a chance. So speak to those issues and those temptations. Right.
So my advice to them is to just understand this, that the songs that you hear, these bling bling songs, and even in dance, all this trap dance, all that they got nowadays,
right.
they will shoot this man over there and shoot that. When you shoot people, you're gonna go to prison bars.
Right.
You understand?
Right.
There's no escaping that.
Right.
You understand? It's either
Yes.
that or somebody else gonna shoot you, because people don't just allow people to shoot people. Because if you shoot my brother, I gonna come back for you.
Right. Right.
Right. And that's the life, that's just how your life is going to be. However, slow down.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And understand that these things are, these are just illusions. These are not substantive.
Right.
And I don't know if I'm the best communicator of that.
Right.
But I know that I can show them.
Yes.
I can show them that in my life, I've seen people who ain't never coming home. Ever coming home.
Mm-hmm.
Ever.
Right.
Over
Absolutely.
one moment of lack of judgment.
Yes. So even if you are poor, even if you're not making it, but you are free, that's a big deal.
You have a chance, you have opportunity.
Absolutely.
You can create opportunity.
Yes, yes. So young people listening to the show, watching the Karna, again, you're watching Pablo Skrili's Karna, also known as the Karna, and my guest today is Brother Kaya OMODELE, author, poet, entrepreneur, blogger, right? And as you can see, a mentor as well, because he's been through a lot and he's got a lot of lessons for young people out there. So, Brother Kaya, how can fans of the Karna get your book?
Okay, you can find Cries of Redemption on Amazon. You can find it in Amazon Kindle as a digital book, or you can order the paperback off of Amazon also.
All right, my brother. So what's next for Kaya OMODELE?
Well, I have a niece.
Yes.
Kwanzaa. She and I are planning to do like take one of my short stories and make it into a film. It'll be in the next book that's coming up, which is
so you don't want to give us too much, right?
Seeking Makita. No, I'll tell you about it.
Tell us about it. Yeah, there you go.
It's on the blog, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, there you go.
It's done in more of a stream of consciousness type of.
So I hear you.
It's really about the battle between. It's a battle of temptation. It's how a lot of young men, how we get tempted to the streets. In Trinidad, it's like a succubus, which is a lady who comes and a spirit that your spirit.
So in Guyana, that would be an olag?
But it's not the same thing as an olag, but it's kind of like an olag. What she does is she comes and seduces. And then drains you in your sleep. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
The blog is called Tempting Irie. So it's a young Ras in Brooklyn who, the streets are tempting him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And she is the one that she symbolizes like, power. And so she's trying to tempt him to come out, to draw him out. Gotcha.
Congratulations and good luck on that project. Also, I want to wish you well. I want to thank you. But before we wrap things up, any final thoughts or parting words for fans of the Karna?
Amongst Guyanese people, there's a lot of division.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not something that I'm really proud of. And it's not something that I'm really, I ain't really digging it. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Especially over old wounds. You see?
Yes.
The other day I posted something about Walter Rodney, and there was a lot of flack given by some Black people, and I understand why. Yes. We overstand the whole significance and everything.
Yes.
Right? But here's what I want to pose on to you. We have to think for ourselves. Right? We just can't think because other people tell us, well, this is what we're supposed to think.
Right.
So do your investigation, right?
Yes.
And with everybody, Garvey, Rodney, even other political leaders around the world, and see what they were about. Because you can't look at a man who is revered all over the world, and there's just a couple of people that just don't like him. And when you ask them what they don't like him for, they really don't have a cognitive answer, you see? So basically, you know, in life, in general, you just can't just hate people just to be hating people.
Right.
That's nonsense.
Absolutely.
You have to give people a chance and
yes.
try to understand and read. Reading is fundamental, as they said, right? Reading is a hell of a thing. Read the man's words, read people's words, and then look at their deeds.
Yeah. Well, what I found though is that I mean, you talk about the importance of thinking independently, right? And a big part of that comes from reading, right?
Exactly.
Active reading, not just be a passive consumer of news or, you know, somebody giving a speech. That's a part of learning, but it's more important for you to actively go after your own body of knowledge so you can learn and break things down and not be susceptible. Critical thinking, there you go. Independent, you know, thought and critical thinking. So those are two important things, I think, that would help us hopefully break that cycle, you know, because what I found is that for me personally, I believe that there are good people of every race, right?
Me too.
And so you can't, even though I like the idea of Black unity and promoting Black businesses, I try not to be constrained by it. Gotcha.
All right. I have a uncle real quick named Rupert Rupnarine. Yes. I'm a blood uncle.
Right.
He was in WPA.
Uncle Rupert.
Yes. And there's a man who I really look up to. He's an Indian man.
Yes.
And I learned a lot from him. And I have a lot of compassion and love for him. You know, my name is OMODELE because my mother named me OMODELE. She gave me an African name because that's what she believed in. That don't mean that she didn't find compassion for other people or she didn't think.
Right.
My name is Kai also. Kai as in, my real name is Kai, K-A-I-E, like Kai Chor. So she named me after Kai from
indigenous.
Over the right.
Yes.
Yes. So as a Rasta man.
Yes.
Right. I deal with compassion for Black people, but I deal with compassion for humanity as a whole.
For humanity, absolutely.
Right.
That's a great note to end the interview on, my brother. Compassion for humanity. Banners and Binnies, you heard it here from my friend, writer, poet, entrepreneur, blogger, Kaya OMODELE, who is my featured guest today, Pundi Karna. Brother Kaya, thanks for your time, my brother. Jah guidance and blessings to you and your family.